So, a little behind the scenes of The World Is Not Enough. Shortly before Tomorrow Never Dies, the big dumb action movie was being released. Barbara Broccoli had seen a news report on Dateline about who would be controlling oil in the Caspian Sea in the wake of the fall of the Soviet Union. Again, this is interesting because, we all know GoldenEye is 100% deals with the themes of like what happens after the Soviet Union had collapsed. Broccoli and our boy, who has a hard-on for convoluted plots, Michael G. Wilson, hired writing team Neil Purvis and Robert Wade. And no, it's not the same Wade that we talked about 2 episodes ago with GoldenEye. That for Jack Wade, that was Kevin Wade. So just to clarify, much like in the past where most of the Bond films would be written by either Richard Maybaum, Tom Mankiewicz, or our boy Mikey G. Wiz, Purvis and Wade, I just love the idea that he's Mikey G. Wiz, okay? Purvis and Wade take over the writing duties to all the following Bond films after this. Every single one. Give or take, there are rewrites and other directors or writers, including this one with Bruce Feinstein. Bruce Feinstein.
Pretty sure it's Fierstein.
Fierstein. Thank you.
Why am I correcting you? Every episode, I'm like, I don't correct you anymore, and I just keep doing it.
You should also get f***ed. So, Charlie, as I pour more wine, you like Lord of the Rings with all its preciousness, right?
I kind of do.
Precious.
Did you know that Peter Jackson was up for one of the as the director for this film?
Wow.
As one of the potential directors for this film was going to be Peter Jackson pre-Lord of the Rings. Unfortunately, Barbara saw his cult classic film, The Frighteners, starring Michael J. Fox. It's a movie I enjoy. It's kind of like a darker Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a great movie. It's a fun movie. She passed on him. So she was like, let's go with somebody else. Because of that movie.
Wow.
Which sucks.
Well, like we always say, there's a silver lining to everything. What was happening in 98, 99? They were making Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So good job, Barbara. That might be the greatest thing you've ever contributed to my life.
Now, but part of that, though, is Jackson would later go on to say he probably would never direct a Bond film because they usually don't hire famous directors. And I'd say that's fairly accurate. Like, if you think of all the directors in all these films, with maybe exception of Sam Mendes, most of them aren't famous or really well-known directors. It's not like Spielberg or Nolan or anything like that.
That is interesting because Peter Jackson's a Kiwi, and so is Martin Campbell. So, I wonder if there's some connection there or what. But I don't know how you watch Peter Jackson's pre-Lord of the Rings films and not want to immediately work with him. But, whatever.
They ended up with director Michael Apt, mainly because most of his films had female leads that all went on to be nominated for Oscars. So it makes sense with the female villain that you would pick him. And before you ask, Spotswood from the previous film, he was just tired and he was like, I don't want to do it because that last movie was stressful enough, so I kind of want to break. So that's why he didn't return. We all should know by now, by going through all these films, that the title refers to Bond's family coat of arms from On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Arms of Sir Thomas Bond, Baronet of Peckham, died 1734. Argent on a chevron sable. 3 besants. Good motto, eh? The world is not enough.
The motto is something that had stuck with Fleming, and it was King Philip II, King of Spain. It was his motto. So the world is not enough. And that was kind of during the time when, Spain and England, and they were going around the world and colonizing everything that they could. Everything that had legs and gold. Gold!
Speaking of which, didn't Bond have 3 bezants?
Bezants.
Please, what is bezant?
Gold balls.
Gold balls?
Yeah, he had the gold balls.
My hidden assets.
It's true!
Bezants? Bro, what the f*** is a bezant?
I don't know what to talk.
It's gold balls.
It's balls.
Hey, Goldfinger, my family had gold balls. That's right.
So let's talk about the opening sequence real quick. This film marks, until this point in time, the longest opening sequence before the opening title credits clocks in about 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
It's 15 minutes long.
GoldenEye prologue is 10 minutes, 41 seconds. And that's right when the first note of the song kicks in. That's where I timed that out. Tomorrow Never Dies, 9 minutes, 48 seconds. This is
14 minutes and 15 seconds.
Originally, I know Charlie's probably going to pick up on this very quickly. Originally, the opening was supposed to just be the Bank in Spain sequence. And then we'd cut to the opening credits. But They showed the film to a test audience, and because it's very kind of lackluster compared to the last two opening credits sequence we had, where, we had Bond in this really cool dam sequence, and then we had all the explosions happen in the next Bond movie, it would have been kind of like, oh, that's not that exciting. He just kind of got away.
It would have been a smarter movie had it just been the bank sequence.
Yeah, but they decided to extend it to make it a part of the boat sequence, so it was a little more exciting, but it's still it's kind of a long sequence.
If it was up to me, what I would have done is, I think it would have been maybe 7.5 minutes long if the money had exploded, and then that triggered the title sequence. That would have been
cut
perfect.
right into the boats, like them chasing on the boat.
Well, no. Bond has his victory, getting the money back, and then we cut to MI6. We do all the same stuff. King blows up, so you have a big tragedy, big tragic explosive moment that goes right into the title sequence.
The song.
Instead, it goes on twice as long. So it would have been a 7.5 minute prologue that would have been really smart. Bond has a win, then a loss. Bond gets the money back, then MI6 is humiliated.
Yeah.
Do you jump into the chase scene right after the credits?
You don't need the chase scene. Why is that cigar chick there? Why is she there? She didn't trigger the bomb.
That's a good question, because she's just sitting there as if she knows someone's going to poke her head out of the hole.
I never thought about that at all.
If she triggered the bomb, but they say several times that it was his pin, his kingpin, a kingpin, I just put that together. His kingpin triggers the bomb.
The money was dipped in urea, in effect a highly compacted fertilizer bomb. Having handled the money, the water on 007's hands when he touched the ice started a chemical reaction. In one of the notes, the metal anti-counterfeiting strip had been replaced with magnesium, which acted as a detonator, and King's lapel pin was switched for a copy which contained a radio transmitter to trigger the blasts. In other words, he set off the bomb that killed him.
She didn't need to be there. She was there, to in case he survived the explosion, she was supposed to shoot him or something?
Yeah,
why is she there?
He runs out, because he runs out to where the explosion is, and then she's just waiting there, and she's the same chick from before.
Would you like to check my figures?
Oh, I'm sure they're perfectly rounded.
In other words, he set off the bomb.
You're right, that doesn't make any sense.
But also, Bond walks up to the hole in the wall as if there should be somebody out there. And again, for all Bond knows, maybe there was a trigger man. But he's looking out the hole that was just created in the side of MI6, expecting to see somebody.
Yeah.
Why? Why is he it should have just explosion, cut to title sequence, and then go right to the funeral.
That makes sense, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
The only reason why it's there is so Bond can hurt his shoulder. But tell me why that's relevant to the rest of the plot.
Because it's not.
It isn't.
No,
It's
no,
not.
it is in that it is relevant to the plot in that once he gets to meet Renard.
But I knew you couldn't shoulder the responsibility.
And he's like, the only person who would have known that is you.
He and I had a little chat this morning. Knew all about us. Knew about my shoulder. Knew exactly where to hurt me.
Remember her response?
You had a sling on your arm at the funeral. And I didn't have to sleep with you to find that out.
Bond, to his credit, he still suspects her after that. But all the shoulder thing does is, in every action scene, he falls on it and he just goes, ah, that's it.
Yeah, you have to like pay attention to see it.
Poor shoulder.
There's never some kind of moment where it really comes into play. You could get rid of that whole thing and you wouldn't miss it.
Same as Renard's not feeling pain thing.
It's moving through the medulla oblongata, killing off his senses. Touch, smell, he feels no pain. He can push himself harder, longer than any normal man.
So the shoulder thing doesn't weigh in at all. And then they could have brought that to a head by, in the fight in the end. He's like choking Bond, and then maybe he just grabs the shoulder and Bond just immediately buckles, right? That would have brought some kind of conclusion to that whole sub-narrative of Bond having this injury. But instead, by the end of the movie, it's not even bugging Bond. He's climbing through this ship. He's having fight scenes.
He's swimming underwater.
Exactly.
Like twisting submarine door latches.
He's fully healed at that point.
If any more tendons snap, I'm afraid you're going to be out of action for weeks.
It's in every action scene, and then it's just gone. Which is like the most frustrating thing ever. Because it's so painfully, no pun intended, painfully obvious. Bond has a hurt shoulder. Renard can't feel pain. Renard is kicking him in the stomach rather than viciously punching him in the collarbone. And who knows, maybe their intention was that the kicking was affecting his shoulder. But remember, this is after we've been watching Bond do acrobatic through the sub for 20 minutes. It just needed to be more visually clear, and it wasn't. Like, come on. If Renard had defeated Bond by taking advantage of his shoulder injury, and then that's what got him trapped in that little thing, and then he had to resort to the gas thing.
You feel pain, I don't feel pain.
Because that's the whole thing, is his not feeling pain allows him to push himself harder and harder. You know how like Captain America is always like, I could do this all day. He could literally do it all day because you could just beat the crap out of him, and the only thing that would stop him is if his muscles stopped working. But he can just push through anything, and that doesn't really get its own conclusion either. I mean, if you just walked up to somebody on the street and showed them that fight scene, they would have no clue that Renard can't feel pain. It just doesn't weigh in at all. But as for the opening, all they had to do was show Bond get blown back and knocked into the wall. And if you really wanted to keep the shoulder thing, but I'm saying,
sure,
I could take or leave the shoulder thing if no, we have to have the shoulder thing. He was just in an explosion. Just have that be the opening, and you would cut it in half.
But Charlie, we wouldn't get to show off the cool boat. Okay?
You mean the Batmobile?
The Batmobile, we wouldn't get the Batboat, okay? The Bond boat.
Squirrely.
The Q-boat. It actually is called the Q-boat. And if you look in the movie, it even says, I think, Q-boat in the radar.
Well, Q said it's his fishing boat for when he retires.
Yeah, fishing boat.
Yes.
How are you supposed to cast out of that?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Something you destroyed, my fishing boat. For my retirement, away from you.
Maybe he's just throwing out torpedoes and all the fish just, float up from the concussion.
Makes sense. Also fun to mention that the little tie adjustment that Bond does when he's going under the water, that was actually Brosnan's idea. And if you look at it, they didn't need that. Like, you could have cut to him coming back up out of the water, but I think Brosnan was like, oh, it would be funny when he goes underwater and he adjusts his tie.
Because remember he does it in Goldeneye?
This film ends Eon's 3-film deal with BMW. This film, we get to see the BMW Z8, which I think is definitely a step up from the previous 750, 750, whatever, which is teased to some pretty cool gadgets, but we barely see any of them. And the car is destroyed before it can do much other than fire a missile. This is because the director, Michael App, didn't want to try to top the car chase in the Rich Dad's car from the previous film. So we just get it more of as a little gag with the blade saw.
Q's not gonna like this.
What was he, afraid? He's like, I can't top that.
Well, this movie was supposed to be a bit more grounded, right?
I think with this director, he just seemed more of an actor's director rather an action director, if that makes sense. So I think he was just
that shows this is not a big dumb action movie.
This is definitely more of a character movie.
All of the action is motivated in this movie as opposed to the last one. Except for the boat thing, which I still think should go. The rest of the action is motivated.
But the boat thing is the best action scene.
The boat thing is the best action scene.
Batmobile, bro!
I gotta get me one of those.
Robbie Coltrane.
Hagrid.
Robbie Coltrane of another fantasy series fame returns as former KGB agent Valentin Salkovsky. I said that right?
No. Try to say the full name. I just want to hear you try.
I don't have it written down.
Valentin Dmitrovich Salkovsky.
Stand by your man.
James Bond. I'm strangling the cat. Strangling a cat.
Stand by your nans. I believe this is one of the first times an informant from a previous film returns, save for maybe like Jack Wade or Felix Leiter. And also some of his dialogue is apparently was lifted from stuff that wasn't used in Goldeneye. But I do think it's really cool to have him back, just to be like, oh yeah, we were dealing with Russia. We're kind of dealing with the same themes. So it's kind of nice to have like, what was going on? Like it would have been like if Kimron Bey came back and you were like, well, what's he doing these days? You know, that kind of thing.
This movie takes place in his home city.
Yeah.
They could have brought him back.
Yeah.
If he hadn't have killed himself via shotgun to the chest. But anyway.
I want to say too soon, but I know it's not. It just feels that way. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they could have brought back his son.
Yeah,
you know.
there could have been any number of sons.
All of my key employees are my sons. You must have quite an establishment here. Biggest family payroll in Turkey.
Before we had talked about them bringing back other characters and being like, oh, this was supposed to be, Agent X or whoever, and they couldn't do it for whatever reason. And so they created a new character in replacement of it. It's just nice that they finally were able to do it where they were like, oh, well, we're going to bring him back. And it worked out.
That is Irina, my mistress. Very talented girl.
In the last one, he was all pissed off and angry and threatening to kill Bond. And then they kind of make nice.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's just a joyful dude. Like he's like, I made it. Before it was free market economy, it'll be the death of me. Now he's like
Bond, James Bond.
Like to the point where he's happy to see Bond. So maybe that seed money that he gave him in GoldenEye was enough to, turn his life around.
Now let me get you straight, Jimmy. You shot him in the leg, you stole his car, you took his girl.
So why did you not kill me?
Call it professional courtesy.
And I should extend you the same courtesy.
Kiros funeral parlor, 4 o'clock this afternoon. Your man will make a miraculous escape with the money. Your money.
I'm not sure I can really help you. I'm a legitimate businessman now.
I'm successful now and everything's great. Look at all these women running around and all that.
Would you care for some caviar? My own brand, Zutkovsky's finest.
I just make caviar now.
Yeah, exactly.
And run a casino.
He probably has my favorite funny moment of the movie, which is...
Drink? Can't you just say hello like a normal person?
Like a normal person? Just Bond is just constantly just pointing
just brings
guns
a
at
gun
him
and
and
be
everybody else.
Come on, let's go.
After you. No. After you. I insist. Lose the girls, Valentine. We need to talk.
Why am I suddenly worried that I'm not carrying enough insurance? Huh? Chill out, James.
Maybe chill out. Just chill out, bro.
He's so much fun in this movie.
Who are you? And how did you get in? I'll call security and congratulate them.
Congratulate
them. Denise Richards. Oh my God, let's fucking talk about Denise Richards.
Let's talk about Miss Big Boobs.
Oh my God. Okay, so Denise Richards.
Give her a sports bra. Just please give her. She's gonna trip over her own titties. Just give her a sports bra.
Shut up. We'll talk about Denise more. I'm sure we will because I have a lot to say about Denise. It's not necessarily anyway. It's fun to note that her costume at the nuclear decommissioning site was inspired by Laura Croft, which in some ways is also influenced by Bond, which is kind of interesting.
And you can't call somebody Dr. Jones and not have it be a reference to Indiana.
And Denise is also, this is the best part, Denise is also first Bond.
Hang on.
Uh-oh.
We just lost
We didn't
Nance.
stand by our Nans.
We lost our Nans. Maybe if we sing for him, he'll come back.
Stand by your Nans. Oh, wait, we were off by a second.
One more time. 3,
right.
2, 1.
Stand by your Nans.
Hey!
Hey! Denise is also the first Bond actress to receive a Razzie for Worst Actress for this role.
Did she receive it? Like, did she go get it?
No. The only person, there's only like 2 people who have ever received their award, and I know for a fact one of them is Halle Berry, which we'll talk about later in another future episode.
Oh, will?
Yes.
I don't know if it's that Denise is bad or if the writing is just terrible.
You know how to drive one of these things?
Doesn't exactly take a degree in nuclear physics.
Denise is bad.
Well, she's certainly not the worst actress of all time, and I do like her at parts in this movie.
Oh, too bad we don't have any champagne.
Or sour cream.
But if you watch her closely, a lot of times when the camera's on her and she doesn't have a line, she kind of looks like she's just drifted off entirely. I don't have a line, so I don't need to do anything here.
I think Christmas Jones should have been someone older.
and less porn star hot.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Denise Richards looks like a porn star.
Denise Richards, I don't think was cast perfect. Just like the way that the script is, it seems like it's someone who's a little more like someone who's still beautiful, someone who's still like a beautiful woman, but just a little more crotchety and a little more like world weary and just like, yeah, I've heard the fucking jokes before, guys. Like I'm tired of this bullshit.
Miss
Dr. Jones. Christmas Jones. And don't make any jokes, I've heard them all.
I don't know any doctor jokes.
A little more grumpy, like could pull off grumpy, tired of men type woman. Denise Richards does not pull that off at all.
Yeah, not at all. And for some reason, right off the bat, she's just pissed off. And it's completely unprovoked. Bond hasn't even said a word to her. And she's like, look, motherfucker, this isn't happening, okay? So it just comes across as forced.
Are you here for a reason? Or are you just hoping for a glimmer? And you are?
Which I think really bogs the movie down because I feel like if you casted somebody else, the movie would have worked a lot better.
That's where the producers, though, go, no, we need a sexy 20-something. What do you mean we're going to have a 40-year-old Bond girl? No, we need to make money here.
How old was Maud Adams in 98, 99? They should have dusted her off for round 3.
Okay, imagine someone like Nicole Kidman. I don't know how old I feel like Nicole Kidman at that age may have worked.
Sure.
Someone like her, that same role probably would have worked for me better. A little more, felt like a little more maturity. You know?
Somebody who is the opposite of Elektra. Because Denise Richards could have just been Elektra. She could have been this young hottie who's just a spoiled heiress.
Yeah.
You know? As opposed to somebody a little older, a little more mature. Somebody where they don't immediately hypnotize Bond with their floppy titties. And their cute face.
I love what you're saying.
You know?
I love the idea of like not Denise Richards, but like a Denise Richards type playing the Elektra role, and then somebody who probably the same actress playing Elektra, playing the role of Christmas Jones.
Wait a minute.
It's bad. It's just really bad.
Well, and every line has to do with nuclear physics and...
I'm a nuclear physicist.
There's that moment where Bond says something like...
There's one critical element here I may have overlooked.
And her response is, what, more plutonium?
What, more plutonium?
And that's such a non sequitur. That doesn't make sense. Like, she has a one-track mind, which is like, nuclear physics, nuclear physics, nuclear physics.
Plutonium, plutonium,
Plutonium, plutonium,
plutonium.
more plutonium?
No, not everything goes back to plutonium and nukes and all. Like, no, and that's, but all that was a setup for
Beluga. Caviar.
Which was supposed to sound cool and all that, but her response made it dumb.
Okay, so now let's shift hardcore gears to some more, like, I guess heartbreaking news, like not as fun. Let's all simmer down. Let's all take a drink. Just like, let's chill, man.
Maybe chill out. Just chill out, bro. We don't want to save this for the end?
We're going to save this for the end. I'm going to talk about it more.
This man is worth a double toast.
Throughout.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's...
Don't even drink. Just pour your whole drink out. Right onto your computer.
On my floor.
So this film introduces...
I live in a piece of shit. Here, wait. On camera.
You could do that.
Out. Wait.
Well, he's also like pissing on the floor too, so... What's beer?
This is for our boy Q. wait. I gotta make sure.
All right, there we go. I can't do that in my house. This film introduces John Cleese of Monty Python fame.
What makes you think she's a witch? Well, she turned me into a newt. A newt. I got better.
Well, and don't forget, he was in Harry Potter with Mr. Zukovsky.
How can you be nearly headless?
Like this.
As R, which I can only presume means replacement.
If you're Q, does that make him R?
But is also the next letter of the alphabet, so that's fun.
And you might be... This is 007. Ah, yes, the legendary 007 wit. Or at least half of it.
Llewellyn actually had asked the producers if Q could get an assistant for some time. So there were previous movies. They're like, Desmond's like, wouldn't it be great if I had an assistant that we had like back and forth with? Like,
that's what Denise Richards should have been doing.
Exactly.
A sexy ass assistant that Bond's always hitting on, and she's not like Moneypenny. Like Moneypenny's like, I want an engagement ring. I love you. And then you have Denise Richards, who's like super fine. And she's like, get out of here, Bond. No, never going to happen.
She could have been the
Never.
doctor that gave him a clean bill of health.
Exactly.
Exactly. To McCurdy's point, the doctor should have been the nuclear physicist. And Denise Richards should have been the doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smart. Anyway, on all that note, this film marks Desmond Llewellyn's last film in the franchise before he tragically passes away, which we'll talk about. No, why do you always do this?
More.
That was a lot.
That's a lot. I'm wasting way too much.
Oh my God.
Q.
We're going to talk about more about Desmond Llewellyn towards the end, because this whole episode is dedicated to Desmond Llewellyn.
Yes. Anyway, speaking of Q, let's talk gadgets. You got your snow jacket, you got the car with missiles and all that, and the remote start. You got your Batman boat, credit card key thing, watch, flashlight and grappling gun, flashbang gun and glasses, and then X-ray glasses. Notice I didn't say polarized glasses. Glasses that actually do something cool. Which, by the way, remember in Tomorrow Never Dies' title sequence, they had the X-ray? It's almost like that was a carryover. Like maybe Bond was supposed to have X-ray glasses in Tomorrow Never Dies, and then they already put it in the title sequence, and then they removed it from the film or something. But
yeah, I read that the way that they shot that is they shot everybody as is, and then they did a blue screen and just matched the two together with the
wow.
Because I do see that scene, and I think like that's actually really impressive for 1999. It's like how they pulled that off.
Do you guys remember where Valentine's cane gun comes from? Remember this?
It's in the books, right?
Remember in Casino Royale where he's having his showdown with Le Chiffre, and a Le Chiffre guy comes up behind him with a cane gun.
My cane is in your bag, but it is a gun, not a cane, and can blow the space of your spine without a sound.
And he says, if you don't lose this match, I'm going to put a hole in you.
Ah.
It took this long to get the cane gun going. It's a fantastic death on Valentine's part.